Hi, I'm Rich Coleman, the Minister of Housing and Social Development for the province of British Columbia. In 2006, we basically gave communities in British Columbia a challenge we called it the 10 by 10 challenge, which is to increase the number of people with disabilities working in our communities by 10% by 2010. 65 communities actually took that challenge on, and we'd like a lot more to do it, but I think that's a pretty good start. By 2010, we expect that 13,000 people with disabilities will be working in our workforce, and that's a pretty big benefit for a lot of reasons. First of all, it gives them a better quality of life. It actually strengthens your community and actually improves the quality of life for the people and citizens within your community as well, because they can actually find ways to actually increase their workforce and find places for these very qualified and capable people to do work within communities. It is an important initiative, one that I think that you embrace as municipalities in BC, and I challenge you, frankly, to step up to the plate and do more of it, because by 2010, those 13,000 people whose lives we're going to change are going to benefit us all. Thank you.
There are currently 300,000 working-age people with disabilities in British Columbia. They have the motivation, education, and abilities to be valuable members of our workforce. Yet they face an employment rate of only 44%. In the fall of 2006, the Ministers' Council on Employment for Persons with Disabilities invited communities and industry sectors to join the 10 by 10 challenge to increase employment for persons with disabilities in British Columbia by 10% by the year 2010. Since then, over 70 communities have accepted the challenge. This is the story of 3 of these communities and the successes they've achieved.
Our goal with the 10 by 10 challenge is to have 283 people with disabilities employed by January 2010. So we started on this goal in October of 2007, and here we are at the beginning of September, so we've been at it for 10 months, and we've helped 192 people become employed. So we are strongly now moving our goal towards 500. We think we can find 500 people employment by 2010. We brought in all sorts of partnerships right from the beginning. We went to the business community and brought in employers that I already knew championed the cause of hiring people with disabilities, and said, what can we do to promote this from your business perspective? Like, what will it take to take on this challenge? And they said, well, why don't we try making a pamphlet and a brochure and send it out with a letter from the mayor explaining what the 10 by 10 challenge is and so on. So we actually got people with disabilities to make this really great brochure, and in it talks about different reasons why to hire a person with a disability. And we actually got a lot of response from that.
It's good for business to employ people with disabilities. It really works.
It's definitely a bonus to be able to employ people like this. As far as a business owner, the people, whether it be business people or customers that belong to different community groups that know you employ people with disabilities, it sort of does give you a good rapport around the community. People know that you care.
What I did was I invited all the job developers from every agency that serve people with disabilities towards employment, regardless of what disability group they serve. And we come together once a month formally to talk about, different employers that are hiring, different job leads, new ways to move the 10 by 10 challenge forward. And informally, almost every day, we're forwarding each other leads and the job markets. And so what I was doing alone, I'm doing with 10 other people now, which is awesome because I can't reach all those employers on my own. But together we can. I've heard a few companies and businesses and even some communities get a little bit freaked out about the whole 10% thing. And even though it's really great branding, it's not really about the numbers. It's about the idea.
My hope is that this is just the beginning, and that we will have changed people's attitudes towards individuals with disabilities, that they will see them as valuable contributing members of our society, and that they'll be in high demand. I really believe this is a seed. This is just a seed in the ground. This will grow into a beautiful tree.
What we've done in the north is we've included and got buy-in from our 41 member municipalities and regional districts in order to have those communities not only inclusive and allowing for employment, but also to be as accessible as they can as we move towards 2010.
We recognize that there may be some communities that don't have the funding or the people resources to undertake a project like this. And our goal right from the start was to ensure that all of the northern communities had an opportunity.
I gathered a group of people from the community, and they are employers, they represent unions, they represent people with disabilities, agencies, a cross-section. We all came together and we said, okay, what do we want to do? What can we do? And the decision was, well, we can have public service announcements featuring employers talking about hiring people with disabilities and how successful it's been for them, and people with disabilities talking about their jobs. The objective was to encourage employers to take a chance because somebody else in the community is already doing it. It's worked really well for them. And it's also to encourage people with disabilities to come forward.
Our first step has been through our Human Resources Department in able to achieving a grant through Service Canada. That's a partnership that's allowed us to be able to hire Allison and have research done.
I've been contracted by the City of Quesnel to research the local labor market and produce a report on persons with disabilities to determine employers that might be open to hiring persons with disabilities, as well as determining the barriers that people with disabilities face in trying to obtain employment in Quesnel. We're hoping that this research will help us to meet our objective in the 10 by 10 challenge.
The North Central Municipal Association is the leader in the province with the initiative around measuring up and the 10 by 10 challenge, and we want people to know that anybody can do this. So I encourage all the other area associations to follow suit, and let's make British Columbia accessible and inclusive by 2010.
What I hope will happen out of this project is that disability issues will be entrenched in official community plans. To me, that would leave the legacy.
The 10 by 10 challenge was first accepted by the Township of Langley on the recommendation of our Economic Development Commission. We went and then met with the partner groups and agencies and discovered that all of these agencies work both in the township and the city of Langley. Between the two of us, the two municipalities, we have about 120,000 people. We share a Chamber of Commerce, and it just became a natural to share this committee and this challenge with one another.
I really think that partnering is important. Our council believes that partnering is important, and having the township at the table was just one more benefit in terms of us being able to come together as a community, as a complete community.
The representatives from both the city and the township have different networks, and so we were able to bring those both together. And I think as a result, people in both communities really benefited.
One thing that our 10 by 10 committee has been extremely successful at, fortunately, is the buy-in that we've had from our local media. We've had people with disabilities hired by local businesses. They've been highlighted in our local media, and then that comes back tenfold because then people say, how do I get involved?
The biggest thing that the 10 by 10 needs is a champion. It needs someone on council or on staff who wants to see this go forward and who can bring the stakeholders together. Once the stakeholders are together, it takes off on its own because these folks want to talk with each other, they want to work with each other. I'm encouraging councils today to take the next step. Find the champion within your ranks who can just bring together one meeting of the stakeholders in your community. Just one meeting and see what you can do to help them. And that's really the next step for the 10 by 10 challenge, is spreading the word from the success areas like Langley, like Abbotsford, and going from here.